This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beat Podcast, recorded live at Vive in Nashville, Tennessee. I have the privilege of hosting James Woods today. He is the head of Enterprise Informatics at Philips North America, and he's got over 20 years in the medtech industry. I'm excited to host him to talk to us about what they've got going on in care delivery improvement and AI. James, welcome.
Thank you, Saul, and it's really great to be here.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. So let's kick things off. Talk to us about you and the things that you do and how the organization's helping drive change in healthcare delivery.
So my role is a commercial one, so I lead all of our healthcare informatics interests in North America. So that includes things like delivery, device integration, digital pathology solutions, everything. It's the largest software business actually within medtech.
Oh, is that right?
Technically,
cool.
yes,
cool.
It's very true. And one of the things that we're trying to do as we bring all these together, in general, really kind of 4 points: end-to-end client and enterprise partnership. I mean, that's what we're focused on. So from the time you come into the ED to the time you're discharged, so that includes device integration and data integration, workflows, diagnostics, clinical decision support delivery. So that's the first one, end-to-end partnership. Also improved efficiency and collaboration. So we need clinicians, we need physicians working to their license level, to the top of their license. And how we help with that is case prioritization or triage or communication. All these things help to do that. A third thing would be deliver to insights to point of care, the right data to the right people at the right time, and actionable insights. You know, a very good analogy for this one is you have analog systems in an old car. Today, they're digitized, right? But if they're simply digitized, it's giving me the same information that it was before, just in a different format. What we're trying to do is bring a digital experience such that now if I'm low on gas, not only does it alert me that I'm low on gas, but it tells me where the closest gas station is, right? Or if I have haptic feedback for when I'm changing lanes and it lets me know. Those are actionable insights. So that's what we try to deliver there. And then all of our solutions, most of them anyway, are vendor neutral, right? Because we're trying to maximize the investment that people have, but be minimally invasive around effort, around money, and all those kinds of things.
I love it. I think I love the analogy, making the experience digital. And it goes beyond just the data. Right. It's the entire experience. James, what's your charter for Philips? What are the key things you're bringing to bear for your clients? Yeah,
I think everything that I mentioned there before is making sure that we deliver on those things for our clients, right? People make a lot of promises. They make a lot of claims. But my role and Philips in general, our job is to ensure that those things are actualized, that they're realized. And so that experience becomes not just something that's on paper, but something people live every day. And so that they can have improved patient outcomes and clinical efficiencies. I mean, this is really what we are focused on.
I love it. There's a lot of buzz right now around the trustworthiness of AI clinical solutions. How do they make the right recommendations? How are the correct therapeutic perspectives achieved? And ultimately, how does Philips work with data systems to partner to build these perspectives?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Listen, Philips is a deeply clinical company. I mean, we're known for innovation, right? In 2023, for example, we invested about $1.7 billion in innovation in 23. And half of that were R&D dollars that went to software, that went to data, and that includes AI applications and development. We are actually a leader in AI patent applications for healthcare. Doing all of that assists in this, a lot of the areas that I talked about before. But ultimately what it does is it gives time back to clinicians and to help improve patient outcomes, right? But there's also a personalization to it. And I think that's the big piece here, where we're streamlining care and delivery and also managing patient demands because they're increasing, right? And so as demographics change, you have more elderly patients, you have sicker patients, you have historic models that have been ignored, like women or children. As all of that starts to mature and we start to get closer in, it gets more personal. And the models themselves then help physicians and clinicians do their jobs better. There's a saying, treat what you see and then see what you treat, right? So imaging, for example, you take images, you know, oh, I need to have some therapies here, and then you engage in the therapies, and then you have more imaging to see how the patient is progressing, right? So treat what you see what you treat. AI, for example, helps to accelerate all these findings and the treatments themselves, also the procedures. So at the end of the day, it's an improved patient experience because if I can reduce the amount of time somebody's within an MR or reduce the fatigue and anxiety for them between the exam and the diagnostics, this is better for the patient altogether. Also, more to your question, like how do we go about doing this? I think it's a mixed model. Some of the AI, for example, that we develop is homegrown. So we have cardiovascular ultrasound, for example, applications. This is a result in an 80% reduction in acquisition and analysis times. We do the same thing with cardiovascular functional analysis. So MR end to end, that kind of an exam lasts less than 6 minutes. Right? So these are the kinds of things that we do homegrown from an AI development. Then we also collaborate. We collaborate with partners. There's a startup company that we're partnering with right now. They do Alzheimer type scanning analysis. But the technologies that they're bringing help indicate, hey, it's in this part of the brain. It can be reduced. It can be treated with these kinds of medications, right? But so this is a collaboration type effort. And then we literally partner with other groups. We partner with groups like Blackford on radiology or cardiology. We partner with IBEX in the digital pathology area for Gleason scoring and this kind of thing. So there's a whole mixed model, whether we do it ourselves or we collaborate or we partner. There's several ways that we bring this stuff to market.
Well, I think it's great to hear about the leadership that Philips has in the AI space, in the innovative space, the build, buy, partner. You guys are doing them all, and it's really fascinating. But ultimately, I like what you said about treat what you see, then see what you treat. I like that. That one definitely sticks.
Yeah.
That one sticks. And so obviously there's ethical bias and regulatory considerations around the applications of these technologies and AI like we've been chatting about. How's Philips working to remove the bias and struggles that institutions have really to prove claims of bias? How do you help them out?
Yeah, no, this is a pressing issue today everywhere. And I hear this a lot with a lot of client engagement. Even governments and authorities are asking these questions for the providers to prove that they don't have the bias. And then, of course, they turn to the vendors to say, hey, we need your help here. You know, it's an interesting dynamic also geographically, because in the US, there's a lot of emphasis on agility and speed to market. As opposed to the EU, it's about trust and accountability, right? So what we do at Philips is we try to balance between the two. Here's another thing for you. You know, they say that necessity is the mother of invention, but sometimes invention becomes the mother of necessity. In other words, we don't see unintended consequences, right? And then we have to innovate to overcome mistakes that we've made in the past. And so what we try to do at Philips is minimize that kind of cycle. Our chairman and CEO, Roy Jacob, actually co-chairs the National Academy of Medicine Steering Committee on AI Code and Conduct with some other peers. That's a 3-year governance committee. And so he actually chairs that. And so we are very serious about the ethical implications of AI. And we address it by 5 principles that we try to adhere to.
Okay.
The first one is considering well-being of the patient, the well-being. So everything we do is a design around benefit for the health and well-being of individuals, but with an eye on a sustainable society as well, right? So not just what are we doing for any individual patient, but culturally and societally, what is the impact there? That's a consideration that goes in. There's a big oversight committee for this stuff. So the intention here is to augment people and empower people, but with human supervision, which that
Keep
last
the human in the loop.
that last part is important. Yeah, of course. A third principle is robustness, and it goes to the very issue of do no harm. Do no harm. So we put guardrails. We have lots of ethical guardrails for deliberate or inadvertent misuse of the technology. So that's the third one. A fourth flag there is fairness. So when we're talking fairness, we want to develop and validate solutions that are representative of the target group and the target patient of intended use, right? So whether we're talking women's health or prostate issues or any other community type issues, all of those are very much front of mind to try to avoid bias, right? And then the fifth one then is pure transparency, because the functions and features of our offerings are, whenever they're AI based, we let the public know that. And we let our clients know that, hey, this is an AI solution. And oh, by the way, here's all the principles that we've been adhering to, and here are all the things in the background. There's a validation process for that. And we take responsibility for the ultimate decision making on it. So those are the 5 principles that we try to adhere to really mitigate this bias issue.
Well, that's very thorough, and I really do enjoy that framework. It's one that, folks, we'll summarize in the show notes, because that's one that I think we should all be thinking about, our approach to the ethical and bias question around these technologies. It's a very serious one.
Yeah.
So
and it's real.
And it's very real.
It's very real.
It's very real. So I love that you guys are focused on that and thought leaders there as well. So let's talk about trends and technology. So what do you think, James, is going to be the trends in tech that shape the next 5 years of healthcare?
Well, for sure, we've been talking about this AI, this ubiquitous AI, but this is really a tool, right? A lot of the trends are going to be more personalized medicine. I think I see this a lot now. More trends are going to be home care, extending medicine to the home. I think there will also be trends of just meeting people where they are, right? So these are issues of equity and access, for example. How do we get out into the communities? How do we serve populations so that we mitigate some of the larger trends of sickness and health that we see, right? I think those are the big ones. And technology can help us do those things, but they're not going to solve those problems, right? All they do, again, they become tools to help us get there. So those are some of the major trends that I see, especially the home component, like more and more that's going to be a rising thing where it reduces costs for the consumer, but it also reduces costs for the providers.
Yeah, overall, for sure. No, thank you so much for that, James. And really, the last one, just to zoom in to the business that you're leading, what's the biggest pain point that your business helps solve?
I'm going to go back to the idea of the right data to the right people at the right time. That is the biggest pain point because that has to do with workflows, that has to do with diagnostic support, decision to support, that has to do with better outcomes, right data, right person, right time, speed of diagnosis, speed of treatment, improved outcome. That's the biggest pain point that I see that we try to solve. And also adoption. That's another one, because again, we can talk AI, we can talk whatever tool you want, but if it's not adopted by the workforce, change management is another huge pain point that we try to address so that everybody can understand the value of the solutions we bring to the table.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, those are critical problems. So great that a company like Philips is focused on helping the industry solve them. If folks want to learn more about you, James, or Philips, or the Enterprise Informatics business of North America, where can they reach out?
www.philips.com. All of the above. You can contact me. My information is there. You can find out about all of our informatics solutions are online at the site.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, James, for joining us. And for everybody listening, make sure you check out the show notes of today's episode where you'll find the short notes, the framework that James highlighted for us around bias in AI, and then also ways to get in touch. You'll find it all there. Make sure you check it out and take action to create that change that we need in healthcare. And again, James Woods, head of Enterprise Informatics for Philips North America, with us today. James, thanks for joining us.
Saul, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, man.
Thank you. This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945.